going on, guys? Today I wanted to make some quick hits about what it's like being an Army Reservist. I want to give you my feedback of what a real life experience is like being a reservist. If you like this kind of content, please like, please share, please subscribe. I have many military videos about joining the military, joining later in life. I also have dad content. So today I want to give you my perspective as an Army Reservist. I'm an E5 sergeant in the Army Reserve. I'm a paralegal specialist. And I've been in the Army for about 10 years now. I had an original stint back in 2004, re-enlisted back in 2017, and I'm on my second contract now. So basically, I want to answer some questions about the Army Reserves and what you can expect. So a lot of people wonder what the time commitment is to become an Army Reservist. So when you first join the Army Reserves, you're going to sign an 8-year contract. So when you sign an 8-year contract, you get, I know there's different ways you can break it up. And I'm not exactly sure the time commitments. I have seen where people have done 4 and 4. I mean, I've even seen one where somebody got 2 years active and 6 years inactive, which I don't know how they got that in their contract, but they did. But the standard is 6 years active reserve, and then 2 years inactive ready reserve. So basically the way that works, you sign your contract. The moment you sign your contract, your time officially starts then, and then 6 years from that date is when you exit into the IRR. So that's what I did. So I originally, when I re-enlisted, I enlisted in June of 2017, and then I ETS'd into the inactive ready reserve in 2023. Spent 2 years in the inactive ready reserve, and then I got the itch to continue serving, and I re-enlisted. Well, first I extended, which meant I could just extend my contract by less than a year. And then when I came back in, I decided that I wanted to actually re-enlist, and I signed another 4-year extension. So basically the time commitment. So when I first started, I didn't really have a lot going on. It was actually a change of pace that I was doing. And I wanted to do something different with my life. And I knew that serving my country would be a great way to have purpose and to feel like I was doing something that was truly important. So I enlisted in the Army Reserve. I wanted to have a family life. I wanted to be able to have the balance. And this is what I want to talk about and kind of give my experience as both being a young man joining the Army Reserves when I was 18 years old, thinking about what I was going to do with my life, going to school, what would come next, as opposed to joining at 30 years old when I had life aspirations. So, I mean, again, like, there's different kind of jobs you can get in the reserves. There is no combat MOS jobs, so there's no infantry, there's no artillery, but there is like MPs and combat engineers and civil affairs and stuff like that. So I know if you're thinking about serving part-time and you want to have those kind of combat roles, you can go into the National Guard, and the National Guard does have combat MOSs. But in the reserves, we're the federal component, so we basically fill in and substitute for active duty. We get deployed just like active duty does. In the reserves, we have active ready years. I don't know how the current system works, but I know back when we were fighting 2 wars that there was ready years, and if your unit was selected, that's how you'd get deployed. But from a time commitment standpoint, it matters on your job. So as a reservist, you do 1 weekend a month. And then you do 2 weeks throughout the year. And depending on what kind of unit you're in, it'll determine what kind of schedule your unit will have. So like I'm in a legal unit, so it's a little different than like an embedded unit. In a legal unit, it's only paralegals and only attorneys. In an embedded unit, you'll have different MOSs from supply, you'll have a medical person, you'll have an administrative person, you'll have maybe an attorney, maybe you'll have some mechanics. You'll have all different kinds of personnel in an embedded unit as a reservist. A lot of times they'll do 2 weeks in the summertime where they'll go to Louisiana, Fort Polk, they'll go out to California, Fort Hunter Liggett. I know that some people do it at Fort Drum, some people do it at Fort Dix. It just depends on where you are and what's proximity to your unit. And usually they'll do 2 weeks in the field. In a legal unit, it's a little different. We still have to do 2 weeks, but we don't do the simultaneous 2 weeks. So basically, we have to fill up 2 weeks full of time during the course of the year, and that's to maintain a good year. So basically, a good year is to be able to have enough points so that at the end of 20 years, you can retire and have retirement points. So that's the commitment. So 2 weeks a year, or 2 weeks a year, 1 week in a month. Sometimes you can, like we call RSTing, which is, I forgot what it stands for, but it's basically like alternate training. So sometimes, like, say like I had a vacation coming up, or say I had like something that I needed to take care of, you can RST and you can do like, it's basically like makeup work. So you can do like your online trainings, you can go to a school. So the commitment is one of the hard things, especially when you're older in life, kind of like I am. I have a full career. I have the military, then I also have a full-time career that I'm in. I'm also a single dad. I also have a dog. So I have a lot of commitments, and I basically wanted to like kind of paint out like what the process is like. So first and foremost, I think having a supportive family is super important, especially if you have kids. This this is not the easiest on a family. So it's hard for somebody, especially if you have young kids, if you're going away and your spouse doesn't have that supportive person around. That can be hard on a relationship. It can be hard on a family, on a marriage. Sometimes based on your work can be frustrated by you having to leave, especially if your job is important, and your job can't be like filled in by somebody else. But there are protections. So USERRA protects your employment. I think if you're deployed, it's up to a certain amount of years. I think it's 5 years. Basically, your job is safe, and they can't retaliate against you for your service. So, like, it just depends on the kind of type of work you have. So, like, I have a type of job where they pay for my military time, but I've worked at jobs where they don't pay for your military time. They just give you time off. So, sometimes that can be a detriment too. Like, it's frustrating when like your employer doesn't pay for military time, but like they don't have to, but they have to give you time off and they have to protect your job. So that's one thing if you're worried about the employment part of it. But it is possible you do get your BA schedule or your battle assembly schedule, what they used to call drills. You get that schedule a year in advance, so you can at least plan these things. And then as far as like the reserves go, especially when it comes to like promotion, like if you want to get promoted, you do have to go to schools, which is hard. I think that's one of the hardest parts about being a reservist is, as reservists, we still have to maintain the standards as an active duty soldier. So like we have to maintain all the PT standards. We have to do all of our medical stuff. We have to make sure all of our administrative stuff is done. So even though we're part-time, we still have to adhere to all the same things as active duty does. So staying in shape, maintaining your readiness, all that stuff's important. So I think that's can be one of the more difficult times because you still have to have all your civilian stuff that you're doing, but you still have to maintain your readiness for the military. So keep that in mind is even though it's only part-time, it still occupies a good chunk of your normal life to maintain these standards and like that. So there are great benefits to it though. I mean, Tricare is awesome. I pay a lot cheaper for my insurance because I pay for Tricare, and the 401k stuff is I match too. Having that little extra income a month plus the medical insurance does help a lot. It helps me able to balance out my life and add a little extra income. So if you're looking from that standpoint, but I do want you guys to know about the time commitment part of it. And I do want you to know that it is manageable. When it comes to work, I think it's great that I work for a military friendly company that kind of respects the fact that I do serve in the military. So those are some concerns that you guys might have. I do want to make more of these informational videos. So I have seen that my military videos have gotten more traffic. If you guys want to know what it's like being an adult, being in the reserves, what it's like with a civilian job around the reserves, what it's like parenting as a reservist, what it's like having a dog as a reservist. These are the kind of questions I want to answer. And I want you guys to be able to have a real life person that can give you their feedback of what the journey's been like and kind of help you steer you exactly where you want to be. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you guys watching. If you have topics you want to hear about, please drop them down in the comments, and I'll be sure to make another video. I do live streams all the time, so if there's like a majority of people that want to talk, you want to have a real conversation, put it down in the comments, and I'll do a live stream, and you can jump on, and we can have a real-time conversation. But until then, I appreciate you guys watching. May God bless you. And if you decide to join the military, I look forward to serving with you. So may God bless you guys.